Hey, everybody. It's our favorite time of the month already. I think time just continues to get faster and faster. And if you already know, you already know. It is the third Thursday of the month. So I'm with my amazing co host, Erica Singleton, Director of Communications from Professionals Beyond the Game. Sizzle, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Tracy. I'm fantastic, but I feel like somebody is even more fabulous than I am. Someone reached a milestone,
A pretty big
pretty
milestone.
big milestone.
Yeah, just turned the big 4-0.
Joined us in the look, and now one more year, and then you'll join us in the over 40 adventures. But yes,
Love it.
this is an exciting and outstanding time. My grandmother once said to me that her life started at like 79, and I was like, oh, that is a long time to wait for life to start.
Right?
But you start to really get into your own here, so I think it's exciting.
Oh, thank you so much. You're exactly right. It is funny how fast time goes, but how you really don't start recognizing the importance of living every single day, every single moment, because it goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
So excited to see you. Always, always excited to see you. And we have such a good show ready for today.
Yeah.
You know? When we think about professionals beyond the game and really kind of student athletes and people growing up and the people surrounded by them, it takes a community.
It does. And you talk about, finding yourself, doing things for yourself every moment, but then also giving back, finding moments and places where you can reach back, give thanks, pay it forward. So yeah, today we get to talk to someone who is doing it better than most, I think. And I had the opportunity to work with them and see them at work. So I was very excited to have today's guest.
Cannot wait to get further into who she is and how she's inspiring and really helping so many of our youth beyond sport, really kind of instilling some life characteristics and lifelong things that they'll take with them. We have Kim Allen joining us today. And Kim Allen was a two-sport standout during her career at Benedict College, located in Columbia, South Carolina. She was a member of the volleyball and basketball team, starting on each team all 4 years, and was named all-conference in both sports. She also graduated with honors in 1996 with a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting. She went on to attain a master's degree in business administration from the University of Phoenix and works within the financial services industry. But her love for sports and her desire to teach kids basketball and volleyball led her to become a coach at the middle school level. But Kim is now currently coaching Lincoln Charter Varsity Girls basketball team and has been there for the past 7 years. They have 6 conference championships, 4 conference tournament championships, 4 Coach of the Year awards, 3 Player of the Year awards, and a host of all conference awards. Kim has had so much success in the coaching world, coaching many girls that have gone to play beyond the collegiate level, and her greatest joy is to be able to pay it forward, providing a child with the same opportunity and guidance that was given to her. Teaching and aligning life skills with sports in order to help young students reach their dreams is a job she proudly accepts. And we are proud to have you on the show with us. Good morning, Kim. How you doing?
Morning. Thanks for having me.
So
Absolutely.
happy to have you. I would be remiss if I didn't say it's not easy watching you coach as someone who works at one of your competitors on the court, but it is impressive.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Kim, tell us a little bit more of anything else. So we read your bio, but get us into kind of who you are just as a person. Who's Kim?
I'm a mother first. I take pride in my family and my friendships. I think I've learned in life. I was thinking about this topic, as it was presented to me that, I've learned and I've grew, being a mom, a wife, a coach, a friend, a daughter. I think that being able to grow from year to year and kind of understanding who I was as a person allowed me to be a better coach, a better person. That doesn't mean I don't always have, pitfalls or there's going to be stops, but I'm competitive. Um, I won't say I don't like to lose. I think, with losing, comes lessons. But I like to be prepared. So I will always put myself and my team, my family, in position to be prepared, because I think that I can win. And if we don't, I accept that loss. And I think, sometimes you got to give credit to the other team because they might have better players. They might be more prepared. So I try to wake up every day and prepare myself for what's ahead of me that day, so that it could start off good. It might not always finish good, but at least I started or positioned myself to have a good day, a good game, good practices. I believe is all in preparation.
Talking about preparation and where things start, as a standout athlete, there are lots of very good athletes, but not everybody goes into coaching, and not everyone ends up being an effective and good coach. So where did the idea, when did you start knowing that maybe you wanted to go into coaching?
So I've been around sports all my life. My parents have played semi-pro overseas, and most of you guys know my brother is in the NBA. I've been in the gym since I was probably 3, 4, always watching basketball. And I guess I wouldn't say I knew, right after college, because you go into married life and kids, but following behind my brother, I followed him to Milwaukee, and I met some people who loved the gym as much as I did. And so we started, just going to all the high school games. And I was always in, Milwaukee Bucks games. And so what happened was my friend, Kelly, she still lives in Milwaukee. She started introducing me to a lot of the people that coach AAU. So I started coaching. I became an assistant on a couple of AAU teams. And then finally her son was at University School of Milwaukee. And it was like, they got a job open. Maybe you should apply. I said, well, I'm not a teacher. And she was like, just apply anyway. And so I applied, and I got that job. And they don't cut kids. So I had 2 middle school teams. And it's funny because even now moving to Charlotte, I don't know if I was destined to be a coach. I just felt like I was positioned in the right places. And it was like, I always stepped up to offer guidance. And then it was like, okay, I got a job for you. So I came here helping boys. My son started playing AAU, and then my husband was coaching, and sometimes I need to fill in on this end or whatnot. So then I became like the stand-in assistant coach as needed. The boys listened. And so I became like a little side assistant coach. And then one of the parents was like, they got a job open at Lincoln Charter. And I was like, I'm not a teacher. Apply anyway. And so I got that job. And so I stayed there. And then it was funny because then my sister was like, they're gonna cut the volleyball team out at Philip O'Berry because they don't have the coach. And I'm like, okay, I'll apply. So then, you find yourself doing a lot of things. So every coaching job that I've gotten is because of a parent that knew that I coached, or knew that I was good, or knew that I can teach. My sisters, they knew I can play and coach. And so that's how I kind of got into coaching, based on what everybody else knew about me. That was my transition into coaching. Not necessarily that I was an athlete and I really thought I wanted to be a coach, but I knew I was a good teacher. I was always in the gym, and it just kind of transitioned into me being a coach. But I'm glad it happened that way, and I'm glad people respect what I know and what I can do and what I can offer to the kids.
Yeah.
Speak a little towards the age group that it seems like you've been drawn to, the middle school, high school. Is that kind of your sweet spot when you talk about teaching and coaching? That's a big deal in terms of the age in which people are learning and growing and trying to figure out who they are. And it seems like you've been drawn into that direction.
Well, I think when I got with Lake Norman Charter Middle School, what they were looking for is a lot of time with the charter schools, they want people who can teach so that the kids can transition to high school, because their feeder programs are their lower level schools. So you're not getting, like, if you're at North Meck, you got multiple middle schools that feed into your school, so your talent pool is bigger. Whereas a charter school, you got first through eighth grade, and if you don't have someone teaching them at the lower level, you get up to high school and you got to reteach. And I've had to do that in certain instances at Lincoln Charter, not to, say anything negative about anybody else, but we don't have a JV program. And then in CMS, they weren't allowing non-teachers to coach at one point. So I was at the middle school level because, they didn't have that teacher's requirement. But then I won at Lake Norman Charter, and then I won at Philip O'Berry, and then it was like, what do I do next? And then Piedmont for volleyball. Well, then I got an opportunity to coach at Philip O'Berry, which didn't require me to be a teacher, so I became the head volleyball coach there and assistant basketball coach there. A big difference between middle school and high school.
Yes.
Because charter kind of operates semi like they're private, even though they have, follow public school rules and whatnot. It's a big difference. And, my thing was, I felt like I had accomplished everything I could at middle school, the winning. And if there was an opportunity for me to move to the high school level at the charter school, so the charter school that I was at, because they had a coach that had been there for years, or Piedmont, you stopped at middle school, then my next level was high school. Philip Berry, a challenging school. You're jumping from middle school where, the kids are going to jump when you say jump. They don't talk back. They don't do anything. It's like you can, when they're younger, it's easier to mold. It's easier to guide. They're willing to listen. I feel like kids want discipline at a certain age. And not to say disciplines, they want structure. And to be able to give them that structure, to me, especially at that age, and you're trying to get them to play sports, it's easier to kind of teach life lessons and how what you're teaching is going to apply as they move forward. Which to me, when you're able to do that, sometimes it knocks down the walls of their learning. They're willing to listen. You can stretch their limits more because they believe you're pouring into them, and they believe what you're teaching. So you see what they're capable of at such a young age, and they don't put up blockers or I can't. And I always tried to say, you can, you will, you try before you say I can't. Because if can't get you on this team, I always wanted kids that were, positive. And not to say that, I wanted to push them into that mold where they thought positive, or I think I can. And you as a coach, you have to see different. You got 14 kids, and you might have 5 that are more skilled, but then you might have 3 that are less than skilled, but they have something. And I feel like at the middle school level, you're able to find and make them believe that they can do it.
There is there's a long conversation one day, not for today's show, but definitely about the idea that charters operate sometimes as if they're private schools, and the parents think of it that way as well, because it's definitely not. And as you are working with the student athletes and helping them to see themselves differently, see something in themselves, be able to work with themselves, I think you also sometimes get their parents in a new frame of mind as well, to be able to see more for their child or a difference for their child. You know, there are a lot of parents who come in and they're like, my child is this and they should play this, and I don't know why they're not getting this. And I love coaching, but I also love something you had said to us separately, which is you know, the only thing that's gonna get rid of you is them. Like, if someone else wants to coach, you're welcome to coach.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my thoughts on what I try to do, and especially at the high school level, is set expectations. I feel like if I come into the season with an expectation, because if I think about coming into next season, I kind of already know who my players are, and I know I'm going to get some new ones. So the if I from my middle school team, I've watched them play, and I'm sure they've watched me coach, so they kind of know my style. They don't know me per se, but if I set an expectation, I kind of try to have. I want to be open with these kids because I want them to understand that it's their team. And if I set an expectation to say, this is what I need from you, and I have team meetings and I have individual meetings, and then we might have one-off meetings based on what I see during the season, how you're performing, you know, your demeanor on the court, you know, your interaction with your teammates. Because I was one of those players that I hated to lose. And so like on the court, I'm aggressive. My coaching style might be aggressive, but behind coaching and all that, I might be the quietest person there is, but my expectation might be different than your parents' expectations. And so I try to have those conversations with the kids, and I tell the parents to talk to your kids first before you come to me. Because I'm trying to keep my own peace. I'm trying to keep the team's peace and the kids' peace. And we want everybody to be great. And I think that sometimes what I might see in your kid, you might see something different. Or I feel like I believe each kid is a piece to our team, and they fit in differently. And you want them to be great, and sometimes they don't want to be great. And I'm trying to pull, and they don't want to pull. But it's at the varsity level, the goal is the win. You know, you got to find ways to communicate like, this is varsity. I know you want your kid to play, but right now this is, you know, the best team that I think should be on the court. But I do have conversations with the kids, and sometimes I might not have conversations because, you know, you have kids that are thicker skinned than others. So you have to learn how to communicate with each one of them individually. I might can yell at this one, but I can't yell at her because she might cry. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I've probably had a lot of them cry, but we kind of get to the understanding of, I think when they cry, they know they're not meeting expectations. And I ask them, are they willing, or do they want to be here? What do you want? Like, what are your goals? And so I'm going to push you towards that. And that's how we're going to determine, you know, if you're going to reach those, are you comfortable in that position that you're in?
I think you're bringing up a lot of good points as I'm listening to you, because really everybody is coming in at a different place, a different space with different expectations, different goals, different needs. And you are kind of at the head of seeing 14 young ladies kind of strolling through your practice door, your game door every single day. Let's transition that to the mental health. What are you seeing as people are walking in, and how do you kind of stay mentally fit for yourself? But as people are coming in with their different expectations, different goals, they might have just had some fallouts with friends and relationships, all this other stuff that they're bringing into practice, into game. How, as a coach, are you able to kind of assess, but also support and teach from the place that they come into you?
It can be heavy sometimes, I admit, because, you know, I'm coming from, you know, when I leave the house in the morning, you're changing hats. I'm going from wife, mother, co-worker, friend, daughter, sister. Then I have to turn all that off to come into this gym with, you know, 14, 15 young people. And I have kids of my own I still, you know, have to check on. And then, you know, I have these girls, and on any given day, there can be something different. And if I've had them over 4 years, they kind of understand that, you know, we can have a conversation. we've had conversations. Sometimes we've had conversations in no practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's like a team thing and it spills over into the team, then we're going to have a conversation as a team, because I feel like as a team, if there's a breakdown or we don't like each other today, we're not going to be good for the game tomorrow. So we need to get past all of that. And we've had some issues, but you can't tell, because I feel like I tell them when they walk in the door, and I'm not here most of the time, that you guys belong to me. You're my kids. You're my daughters. And we don't like each other as soon as you come in the gym. I feel like we can conquer and discuss anything. We've had plenty of issues where I'm sure some of them don't like me sometimes. I tell them I didn't like my coach when I was younger either. But I feel like it's important for me to be able to look at them and kind of understand from day to day that they're not in the right space. I'll ask them, do they need to take breaks? Do they need to step aside? Do they need to go home? I am that coach too, that I remember when I was younger and I felt like I was out of it. I needed a break. So we might, it might not be a strenuous practice. We might have games, we might have shoot around. We might do things that change the mood, because I feel like our opening season, we were losing. And it was like, okay, when you're used to winning, or these girls, you get tired of losing. So you have to, as a coach, you have to kind of make it fun sometimes. You have to change direction. You have to do things that take away the seriousness of the game. Because for me, when I think that I'm trying to win the conference, and then they have, with 14 girls, everyone can have a different attitude every day, but I am that direct coach. If you come at me in a way that's not, respectful, then I will get you straight right then, because I feel like I'm a parent. You know how you are as a parent, and as a parent, like I feel like, and I've done it to my daughter when I was coaching her. I felt like if you're supposed to be my captain, the best player, and if you're showing off on me, then somebody else is going to too.
Yes.
And that comes with the attitudes and the personalities. And as long as you get everybody on the same page, I understand there's going to be, some moments where you're having a bad day, and I'll lay off you. But if it's the day before a game, I need you at 100. And so, I am cognizant of everybody's time. I feel like it's important for me, because the girls, I think when I was younger, we can get yelled at every day, and that was normal. And now you kind of have to be mindful of everything else that's going on in all these kids' lives. There's social media, there's this, there's boyfriends, and so I have to take that into account. And we've talked about those things, and we talk about a lot of things. And even sometimes I tell them they might not be your boyfriends later, and you guys don't get so caught up into them now. I turn into mom sometimes, so I have to tell them the truth, because I know sometimes they're not listening to their own parents. So I will take it there as need be.
You're given space. You are giving so much space for growth, for change, for things to happen, for life to be here, which I think is big, because you're right. What you're teaching subconsciously is that how we feel is going to be an indication of how we perform. And if there's some other things going on outside of what's happening right now, and you're bringing that into what's happening right now, we're not going to be at our best. So thank you for being the type of coach and person and parent that you are, because so many people just need a spot to say, you know what, today's not the day. And a lot of times kids can't even express what is going on. They just show up emotionally in a place, Right. So when I heard you say sometimes we have practice, but we don't practice, we just talk. We just kind of have that open space to kind of be. I think that's big. So thank you for what you're teaching and modeling to our young ladies. It's so important. And our time is going by so fast, Kim. We got about 1 minute left. How can people connect with you, reach out to you? And you're at Lincoln Charter doing amazing things. Anything you want to share or say before our time is up for today?
I am at Lincoln Charter. I do have a I'm on I'm on Facebook. I'm not overly involved in social media. I kind of am the older mom, as my daughter says. But I can be contacted through Lincoln Charter website at all times, and I can be found on Facebook and Instagram. I thank you guys for having me. This is, something outside the normal of what I would do. It's a different experience, and I appreciate you guys for having me on.
We appreciate you.
What I do with my team.
Thank you so much.
That's it for today's episode of Mental Fitness Matters. Get more tips, tools, strategies, and solutions that will help you reach your peak mental fitness by joining Tracy every Thursday from 8:30 to 9 a.m.